I was quite grown up and responsible for a few years, but then one day my wife made the mistake of inviting my friend Phil to a party we were throwing. Someone Phil knew had asked him to look after and make use of an 8-track recording setup. I said I would only get involved if we wrote a musical. As always, we were persuaded to do favours for favours. We recorded a version of a Jerry and the Pacemakers song for a voiceover artist Phil knew, who thought he could get us into an advertising agency working on ads for Lada cars. It went "I like it a Lada," which worked quite well apart from the fact that Lada then changed their name. Phil was friends with a soul singer who had been slightly well known a few years earlier. She suggested we record my song "The Same Sun Shines on Everyone." She thought my song was a perfect counter to Coca-Cola's song "I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing." Not for the first or last time large sums of money were mentioned. Her husband was a professional singer and he sang lead.
Right here in my hands, all the things that money could bring fell through my fingers like grains of sand. I walked through the park with my girl. I remember the sun, how it shined. Oh, it was such a perfect world, but now it's all left behind, and it's the same sun that shines on everyone. Yeah. Everybody in the world wants to be happy and free. Yeah. It's the same sun that lights up all our skies. It's the same sun that shines on you and me, yeah. It's the same sun, yeah. Can you feel it? Down in your soul. Are you listening to this song?
We also recorded an informative song to be played on the airport buses. It was written by a friend who had once been a professional musician, but had taken a job managing the Heathrow car parks.
Walk and fly with the one you can depend on when you go away. With traveling on business or a restful holiday, you'll have peace of mind. You just park and fly. You'll be sure your car's secure with park and fly.
Back when it was just about possible to make decent samples on a PC, we got a job making sounds for a fruit machine. A job that actually paid us money. Phil was asked to write a play to celebrate the anniversary of Cypriot independence. This was performed at Theatre Royal Stratford in Camden. We provided some incidental music. We wrote and recorded a musical we called Storm City. A young man returns from exile to bring down a corrupt local official that had banished him and win back the hand of the woman he loved.
tell it to the judge who sent me away. But I'm back in town and I'm here to stay. Gave me the choice of 10 years inside to get out of town just to save his hide. Cast out into the outside world alone. And you better watch out, Stock City, I'm coming home. I'm coming home, I'm coming home. Home to where my heart is, though my spirit will always be free. Home to the girl I love, I hope she's waiting for me. I hope she's waiting for me.
By then I was working all hours as a minicab driver and I carried a small keyboard to write songs. I clearly remember being parked up and coming up with a song I was so pleased with that I told the controller I was taking a break and drove to Phil's to play it to him.
I've a dream of a perfect world where the total of the numbers going down match the total of those that go across. I believe in a wonderful world where the answer to all problems can be found in the columns of the profit and loss. I believe that if everything was equal, it would benefit the whole human race. You can shuffle the figures and cook the books, and the world would be a much better place. These are the joys of accountancy. It's all there for you to see, all in black and white, and the figures all agree. It's the joys of accountancy. It's seeing with clarity what the ordinary man considers a mystery.
Our contact at the Theatre Technis moved to the Theatre Royal Stratford East, and he got us the opportunity to have Storm City workshopped by a professional cast. The only problem was that we wrote like rock musicians with words and chords. The professionals needed a melody line and did not want to be told what the chords were for some reason. But we got it done and Phil attended the workshop, but I could not afford not to work. Meanwhile, we were working on another major project. It had started when Theatre Technis put on a play Phil had written, and he offered to do a one-man show as a support act. We worked on a few parody songs which became part of a rather sad monologue, spoken by a broken man looking back on a life he had largely imagined. We then turned this into a more upbeat comedy mock radio interview recording, with fully formed songs in styles that charted the progress of rock music from the 50s to the 90s.
We're running a bit short on time here, Mike, and I noticed that you brought a guitar with you. Obviously, you didn't realise it was a chat show, but I suppose since you've got it, you might as well give us a number. So we'll come back to you after this.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Over and over and over and over, I love you. I said over and over and over and over, I care.
Once it became feasible to film and edit on home equipment, we made a whole mock documentary with talking head interviews.
I'm standing outside this shop because this is a story about a man that once worked here and started out his career here, of Mike Desanger.
There were flowers in your eyes. There were rivers in your smile. Butterflies were dancing in your hair, walking in the gardens of your mind.
Is that all the lads, I mean, Brian Jones, lovely man. I mean, a lot of that stuff, rubbish. I got him a Hillman in, a lovely little runner. it's funny thinking about that car now, because that the last time I saw him, because I went up the house and he went there. I left the car on the drive, and just a little note to him: Bri, your brakes are done, and oh, you got a loose tile by a swimming pool.
Including our friend John Bird, the Big Issue founder, now Lord John Bird.
We just sat and we talked for hours about how this was going to be done, and it was really exciting because he was not only going to do the a disc, which we're going to stick on the front of the paper, on the front of the Big Issue. He was also going to do this video, because he knew this bloke who did all these films and all that, and he'd sketched it all out, and he'd really done a hell of a lot of work. Very, very impressive person, in a very strange sort of way.
The premise to the mock documentary was that our central character was there at all the changes in rock music, but he was never at the forefront. He may have been a leader or a follower, but he never got any credit. We had invented a character we recognised, and we thought it was people we knew, but it was probably actually us. Of the songs I wrote for the project, my favourite was my 80s song, a Springsteen parody playing on the jogging craze of the time. I stole a riff from Puccini. I adapted one of the main motifs from Puccini's La Bohème.
Twist and turn, though your hand might be frozen, still you're going for the burn. You're racing in the street, not trainers on your feet, giving your heart and soul. It's great if you try, look the tiger in the eye, and then shoot for your goal. In a bleak midwinter, all through the wind, the rain and fog, in the heat of summer, oh baby we, oh baby we were born to die.
Eventually we got the bad news from the Theatre Royal Stratford East. Storm City was a satire on early 90s politics set in the near future. The advice we were finally given was to try to write something period, something a bit more like Les Miserables. So we did, but that's another story.
Sing with me, children. It's the same sun. Don't you know it is? It's the same sun. Can you feel it? Yes, it's the same sun. Down in your soul.